A decorated two-decade military veteran, she serves currently as a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserves, the first Hindu woman in U.S. Congress, and a strong advocate for national security, friendship with India, and against Islamic terrorism. Lieutenant Colonel, or Lieutenant Colonel as they say in the United States, Tulsi Gabbard, is no stranger to breaking barriers. Tulsi has now been nominated as Director of National Intelligence, or DNI, in Trump's incoming second administration. Take a look at Tulsi Gabbard's journey and what this new role could mean specifically, not just for the United States, but for India.
Lieutenant Colonel Tulsi Gabbard, 21-year military veteran, the first Hindu woman in U.S. Congress, and now nominated Director of National Intelligence in Donald Trump's incoming government.
I invite you to join me in doing all that we can to save.
Known for her strong stance on terror, criticism of Pakistan's support for terror, and her deep connection to Hindu culture, Gabbard's leadership could herald a new chapter in the US-India relationship. She made the headlines most recently with this comment on persecution of minorities in Bangladesh.
I introduced a resolution that called for the protection of Hindus and religious minorities in Bangladesh, people who continue to be targeted and persecuted to this day.
Her uncompromising position on combating terrorism aligns closely with India's concerns, especially regarding cross-border terrorism originating from Pakistan.
F-16s in Pakistan. Judge Poe and I recently sent you a letter expressing our grave concerns about this potential sale and asking you to consider stopping it. In our view, rewarding Pakistan with such a sale when, in fact, they have not changed their harboring and support of terrorists within Pakistan, whether you talk about the 2011 statements by Admiral Mullen then, talking about how the Haqqani network is a veritable arm of the Pakistani ISI.
Born in the Pacific Samoan Island and growing up in Hawaii, her Hindu roots have made her a beloved figure in India, where she is seen as a friend of the country. In 2019, while still with the Democratic Party, she gifted Indian Prime Minister Modi her personal copy of the Bhagavad Gita.
When I was elected to the United States Congress, I chose to take the oath of office on the Bhagavad Gita. Many people have asked me why I made that choice, and for me, the answer is very simple. Krishna's teaching in the Gita of loving service to God and working for the well-being of all of God's children, his teachings of bhakti and karma yoga, are the foundation and driving force and purpose of my life.
During her time in Congress, Gabbard supported numerous initiatives to bolster US-India relations, recognizing India as a key ally in maintaining stability in the Indo-Pacific region. As the Director of National Intelligence, Gabbard will likely continue to emphasize the importance of the US-India partnership in countering the influence of China and addressing regional security challenges. This could mean more intelligence collaboration, joint operations, and a shared focus on countering cyber threats and surveillance activities by adversarial nations.
The opportunity there for mutual prosperity and security is something that I know both of these countries' leaders are very committed to.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram.
A video of Gabbard chanting the Maha Mantra at the ISKCON 50th anniversary event in Washington, D.C. has gone viral on social media, emphasizing her sense of spirituality and identity. After the intelligence-related frictions between India and the United States under the Biden administration, Tulsi Gabbard's new role could smoothen things out and go on to be a game-changer for the US-India relationship. Her unique combination of cultural understanding, strategic clarity, and commitment to democratic values could enhance India's security and its position as a crucial partner for the United States in the 21st century. Bureau Report, India Today.
So Tulsi Gabbard, friend of India, someone who has looked very favorably upon India-US relations, has now been appointed by Trump as the next Director of National Intelligence. But what exactly does that mean? What is the DNI? What is Tulsi Gabbard's role going to be? Well, as the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard becomes the executive head of the US intelligence community, which basically means she is the executive head of 18 US intelligence agencies, including the CIA. She personally provides a daily classified brief to the president, distilling and collating crucial intelligence matters. She also, if the president chooses so, becomes principal advisor to the President and the National Security Council, as also the Homeland Security Department, and she directs intelligence sharing with allies, and that's where India will very, very likely benefit. But the obvious question is, well, she's the first Hindu lawmaker in US Congress. She is someone who has professed a strong love for spirituality and the India Connect, but is Tulsi Gabbard really good for India? Consider the following points for you. Number one, she has always had, like you just saw in that report, a very hard stand against Islamist terrorism. She has an avowed aggressive stand on Pakistan-sponsored terror. She's brought it up repeatedly in US Congress. She may rethink the use of Gurpatwant Singh Pannu-type assets against India for any reason. We don't know yet, but possibly there could be some kind of a rethink because this was the Biden administration's project against India. She's always been an advocate of strong India-US relations, so that weighs in India's favor, and she could strengthen Quad intelligence sharing between the United States, India, Australia, and Japan as a counterbalance to China, and will boost Indian intelligence on China specifically, given what's happening on the border. Greater intelligence sharing in the maritime domain, in the Indian Ocean, especially in the wake of the Iran-Israel conflict at this point of time, becomes of crucial importance. My colleague Rohit Sharma spoke with Tulsi Gabbard on what next for the US. Here's what she said.
Congressman, thank you so much for joining us and talking to us today.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, Congresswoman, you were a Democrat and you ran a presidential campaign in 2020, and now you have endorsed President Trump. What made you change your decision and endorsing President Trump, and what was the reason for you to do so?
Oh, first of all, I left the Democrat Party a few years ago because today's Democrat Party is controlled and led by this elitist cabal of warmongers who are undermining our freedom, fundamentally censoring free speech, undermining the rule of law and our democratic republic. There are many examples that I could give you. I wrote a book explaining in great detail why I left the Democrat Party. It's called For Love of Country, Leave the Democrat Party Behind. And in this election, the choice was very clear for me in why I endorsed President Trump over Vice President Kamala Harris. It is because of those fundamental rights and freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution and the words that our founders had for us in this country as Americans, our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Under Vice President Harris over these past 4 years, along with Joe Biden, they have undermined our freedom and continue to do so. They have weaponized government entities to go after their political opponents. I've personally experienced political retaliation by this administration, putting me on a domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies just one day after I did an interview criticizing Kamala Harris's record as vice president and talking to the American people about the dangerous consequences of a Kamala Harris presidency. They have ruined our economy, increased the cost of living. We're seeing increased crime, open borders, over tens of millions of illegal immigrants coming across our borders, many of them actually violent convicted criminals coming from other countries. And on a foreign policy front, they have embroiled us in multiple wars in different parts of the world and have pushed us to the brink of World War III and closer to nuclear war than we ever have been before. On every account, the choice is clear that President Trump in this election is our best hope as a country to get back on that path where we can look to a future of peace and freedom and prosperity for all Americans.
You know, you also mentioned about border. The border has been a big issue. I think immigration is dominating, you know, the election cycle this year. What would be President Trump's policy? I know he's talked about, you know, securing the border. There are a lot of Indian immigrants, you know, who obviously feel that, you know, nobody talks about their plight. And, you know, why should like an Indian immigrant voter vote for President Trump versus President Harris? Because President Harris, one of the things that's going for her is that she's half Indian. So, I mean, anything that you would like to say to immigrants who should vote for President Trump?
I would encourage Indian immigrants who are here in our country and contributing to our economy, starting businesses, innovating in technology, to not fall into the Kamala Harris trap of identity politics and vote based on ethnicity. I would encourage them to ask the Kamala Harris campaign or do their research. What has Kamala Harris, as someone whose mother immigrated from India, what has she done for Indian Americans today? What has she done for Indian immigrants here in our country? I know the short answer to that. The short answer to that is nothing. The same issues and challenges with green cards, with children, Indian immigrants who are here on green cards and who have kids who turn 18 and now are facing a situation where they don't have any access to legal status and an extremely broken legal immigration system. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have not done a single thing to address these very real and longstanding issues that the Indian American and Indian immigrant communities face here. President Trump has talked very openly about different ideas, such as, you know, immigrants who come here and go to school should immediately be issued a green card when they graduate from university here, because it's in our best interest as a country to be able to retain the kind of talent and innovation and opportunity that many immigrants come here to seek, rather than providing people with skills and capabilities and then sending them back to their home country. President Trump has talked about recognizing the growth and the benefit that the United States and our economy gains from many immigrants from different parts of the world, but especially and including Indian immigrants. So I have no doubt that President Trump sees the opportunity here and will do all that he can in order to address these longstanding issues and fix what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have broken.
And India Today's Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan is live with me. Geeta, as you know, covered the election for India Today from Washington, from New York, from Florida. Geeta, you know, over the last few days, we've seen President-elect Trump line his cabinet with some very, very interesting faces, you know, many friendly faces, as we've been talking on previous episodes of 5 Live so far. Tulsi Gabbard also stands out. You know, she's not just a friendly face, she's the first Hindu lawmaker. She's taken a tough stance on, you know, Islamist terror, specifically on Pakistan. She's been a pretty vocal advocate for, you know, deeper India-US relations. She also gets a pretty big mandate. Director of National Intelligence puts her into the office of being the executive head of the US intelligence community, which is huge. She's got President-elect Trump's ear on intelligence matters, which could be very, very advantageous for India. Take us through how you see this.
Well, it is. It is going to be critical. It's going to be very important. And we were discussing this yesterday also, Shiv. All the obvious names that were to come out were the top positions of Defense Secretary, Secretary of State, so on and so forth. Looking at what are the others going to get, of course, Kash Patel did not make the cut, although he was tipped to be the CIA chief. That did not really happen. And we were looking at what is Vivek Ramaswamy or Tulsi Gabbard really going to get. It does seem like, it's almost like save the best for last, because being DNI, she is, like you said, and like we just put out in our report, she will be controlling all the agencies when it comes to the intelligence community in the United States of America. Critical because she is pro-India. In the interview, she said, what has Kamala Harris done as an immigrant, the second-generation child? What has she really done for the Indian community? Well, nothing. And here she's talking about what she wants to do, what she is looking at. So she's looking at massive cooperation between India and the United States of America. And to that end, we will be seeing a lot of maybe intelligence cooperation between the two sides. But primarily, the focus is going to be, Shiv, for the United States of America, the Indo-Pacific architecture, where India is or ought to play a very important role. They will be looking at how to make that push for India to start playing a more proactive role, and in that maybe share a lot of intelligence to do with China, like you rightly said. But what I'd be interested is in seeing what she does when it comes to all the cases against President-elect Trump, against him, and how the intelligence community acted against him, whether she's going to clean up that entire dirt on Trump as DNI. And secondly, for India, most importantly, at this point in time, what we're dealing with is the murder for hire charge case. And in that, the intelligence gathering that was done by the United States of America and maybe provided to Canada as well. What really happens over there? What's the kind of intelligence that will be shared with India, and to what end? And whether if there is going to be an understanding of how seriously India looks at Gurpatwant Singh Pannoon being given the space that he gets in the United States of America.
Okay, it's going to be very, very interesting. Only a few weeks to go before that inauguration and before Tulsi Gabbard and all of the others take office, but we'll be tracking that very closely. It looks like early morning India time, evening America time is when Trump announces more and more members of his team. There are still some positions left to be filled, and we'll be keeping a very close eye on that. Thanks very much, Geeta, for that perspective. Not many know that Tulsi Gabbard used to be with the Democratic Party. In 2022, she had a famous breakup with the Democratic Party. She went independent for a while and only became part of the Republican Party this year in 2024. So imagine she joined the Republican Party, openly endorsed presidential candidate Trump this year, and is now the executive head of the U.S. intelligence community. That's a textbook definition of a big meteoric rise that cuts through any manner of symbolism. The interview you just saw of Tulsi Gabbard with Rohit Sharma was after she became a Republican. But we've also spoken to Tulsi Gabbard when she was a Democrat. India Today's Gaurav Sawant spoke to her way back in 2019, where she spoke at length on the difficulties she faced as a Hindu in the United States. Listen in.
And since you're a practicing Hindu, while people may talk of Islamophobia, what we're seeing is a lot of criticism of the Hindu religion. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan was extremely critical of even organizations like the RSS. Do you see that there is some kind of an effort being made to vilify Hinduism?
Unfortunately, I have been on the receiving end of religious bigotry and very harmful and discriminatory rhetoric here in the United States, both when I ran for Congress all the way back in 2012, again in 2014 and 16, where my Republican opponents at that time first said, that Tulsi Gabbard cannot serve in the United States Congress because she is a practicing Hindu, and that undermines or conflicts with our Constitution. Another candidate who ran against me in a later year said a vote for Tulsi is a vote for the devil simply because she is Hindu. And political opponents now, as I'm running for president, continue these kinds of bigoted smear tactics that are centered around Hindu phobia. And this is the kind of religious bigotry that should not be used in our society nor weaponized as a political tool.
In the United States, you're saying you were discriminated against or vilified. It's also happening in other parts of the world. We see an adversary of ours like Pakistan do this more often than not. What's the best way to counter this?
With the truth. With the truth. The fact and the reality is that in my own spiritual practice of Vaishnava Hinduism, every day in my life I am doing my best to practice Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga. And, Bhakti Yoga being love for God, Karma Yoga taking action to be of service to others and protect our planet. These are beautiful universal truths that I have learned and been inspired from by the Bhagavad Gita that can inspire all of us everywhere. These are not teachings that are only segmented for Hindus, but teachings that can inspire us all to come together, respecting Muslims, Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, Catholics, atheists, people of all different paths, to just respect one another and to care for one another and for our planet.
Now, when you met Prime Minister Narendra Modi last time, you presented him the Bhagavad Gita that you'd taken oath on as a Congresswoman.
Yes.
You have plans to come to India to visit some of these places, especially where the Srimad Bhagavad Gita was written?
I came and visited India a few years ago. It was my first visit, and really appreciated the opportunity to be able to travel through many different parts of the country. It's a very big country, but was able to visit, I think, 7 different cities in a short period of time, and look forward to being able to go and visit again.
Tulsi Gabbard is the latest appointment in a team that is rapidly taking shape under Donald Trump for his second administration. His early picks clearly point towards likely hardline immigration policies, confrontations with China, and executive power at the forefront. But what do Trump's picks tell us about what to expect during his second term in the White House? We've dropped some hints in our coverage so far this week, but with each new appointment, there's greater definition, greater shape, and perhaps clearer answers.
A week after his historic win, Donald Trump is already laying the groundwork for his next administration, with a team of loyalists ready to execute his vision. For his second tenure, Trump is turning to his trusted allies. One of Trump's longest-standing advisors, Stephen Miller, will return as White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. He's known for his hardline stance on immigration. Thomas Homan, who led ICE during Trump's first term, is back as the president's immigration czar, signaling a stricter border policy. Trump is stacking his team with vocal critics of China. Florida Congressman Mike Waltz, a retired Army colonel, has been named National Security Advisor. Meanwhile, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik will serve as U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. Stefanik in the past has accused China of election interference and hacking attempts targeting Trump's phones. Mike Huckabee, a staunch supporter of Israel and former governor of Arkansas, has been nominated to serve as the U.S. ambassador to Israel. His appointment hints at shifting U.S. policy towards more aggressive action in the Middle East. Trump is also turning to his allies in the media. Fox News host and military veteran Pete Hegseth has been named as Secretary of Defense. Hegseth aligns with his agenda on everything from border security to defense policy. Reports indicate that Elon Musk has been advising Trump on cabinet picks and even joined in talks with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump has tapped Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to lead the new Department of Government Efficiency. Their mission to cut red tape in the bureaucracy.
Tulsi Gabbard, a former Democrat, has been appointed as U.S. intelligence chief. She is the first Hindu Congresswoman who will sit atop the U.S. spy agencies and will act as Trump's intelligence advisor.
With thousands of positions to fill, including career bureaucrats, Trump is building an administration that he believes will bring sweeping change, one led by those who are fiercely loyal to his cause. 8 years in the making, the Trump team is set to return, stronger than ever, as the president-elect prepares for the challenges ahead. For now, it's clear Trump's second term will be anything but ordinary. Bureau Report, India Today.
So just to give you an overview of all the appointments so far and the organization shape that the Trump 2.0 cabinet and organization looks like. Donald Trump, obviously the president-elect right at the top. Susie Wiles is his chief of staff, the first woman chief of staff in the White House. Marco Rubio is the new Secretary of State of the incoming administration. Mike Waltz is National Security Advisor. Tom Homan is the border czar. His videos of congressional hearings have been going viral. Tulsi Gabbard, like you just saw, is Director of National Intelligence under the new government. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy head the new Department of Government Efficiency. Pete Hegseth, Fox and Friends anchor, is the new Secretary of Defense. Young and John Ratcliffe is the new CIA Director, not Kash Patel, as was being speculated. And Kristi Noem is the new Chief of Homeland Security. Now, there are a lot of young millennials, well, relatively young millennials, some of them just my age, who are part of this new administration, the young Turks of Team Trump. J.D. Vance is the vice president. He's 40 years old. He represents a younger populist wing of the Republican Party, known for his appeal to working-class voters. He himself comes from a rural working-class background. Vivek Ramaswamy is 39 years old, Department of Government Efficiency with Elon Musk. His expertise is in business, tech, and traditional government operations. Tulsi Gabbard, who you just heard, is 43 years old, Director of National Intelligence. Her expertise, she's obviously been in the military, so national security and foreign policy. Pete Hegseth is 43 years old. He's going to be the next Secretary of Defense, the head of the Pentagon, expertise, military affairs. He's a veteran himself, national security and public policy. Elise Stefanik is just 40 years old. She's Trump's new ambassador to the United Nations. Obviously, her expertise is foreign policy, defense, and communications. Matt Gaetz is 42 years old. He's the incoming Attorney General and head of the Justice Department. Justice, reform, and conservative legal philosophy are what he is an expert at. Geeta continues to be with us for a perspective on this. Geeta, being disruptive comes pretty naturally to Donald Trump. The appointments reflect his alignment in and predilection with kicking things up, breaking structures, doing the unexpected. And clearly, the fact that he's picked a whole lot of people who are in their, late 30s, early 40s, millennials really, reflects perhaps that inclination towards, stepping out of the box in this new administration.
Well, fresh, radical, unpredictable is how I'd look at this entire structure that we've put out, Shiv. But the fact is that these are all names that have been announced by Donald Trump. They have not been confirmed yet. And if you look at all the names, most of them might see through the confirmations because they have Senate and Congress majority now. The only name that I was talking to somebody about where confirmation might be a little difficult to come through could be Pete Hegseth. as defense secretary with no experience is one will have to wait and see whether that's going to come through or not. But all the others, in all probability, are here to stay. President-elect Trump is going to fight very hard to ensure that the Attorney General really is appointed. And so there are for some where there's going to be a major fight that will be put in if there is resistance, and for some others maybe not as much. Again, we'll have to wait and see whether the defense secretary is going to be Pete Hegseth or not. Having said that, look at the names, look at the age, and look at what they bring to the table.
Yeah.
They're fresh. Quite a few of them might be new to the business. Most of them have been around a while. But what he has tried to do is not stick to the old school thinking of getting the old guard, but trying to get the new faces from the party. And so, again, a lot of them surprised, some of them shocked. We'll have to wait and see how they really perform when it comes to the positions that they're going to hold and the delivery that will be expected of them. Trump is a hard taskmaster, as is many of them who are part of his team. So let's wait and see how this really pans out. There is a 100-day agenda for all of these people who are being appointed. And we'll have to see whether if that 100-day agenda is something that they'd be able to deliver for Trump or not.
Geeta, thanks very much for bringing us that perspective. It's going to be interesting to see how all of this settles once the inauguration takes place in January. Lots of confirmations to take place. Doesn't seem to be much trouble, but this is the face of the Trump 2.0 government. And we, of course, are expecting many more appointments in the run-up from this transition government. We'll continue to track this very closely. I've got much more lined up for you on the other side, but want you to enjoy this little video that's been going viral ever since Tulsi Gabbard's appointment and nomination as Director of National Intelligence. She has a solid Hindu connect. She's always worn her Hindu religious identity on her sleeve. She took oath on the Bhagavad Gita when she was confirmed in US Congress. She grew up in a Hindu family as well. And here's a video that's gone viral of Tulsi Gabbard singing the Maha Mantra at an ISKCON event recently. Take a look.